By the time Eamon Rook turned 18, he had learned to read the mountain by what it refused to give. A quiet stream in thaw season meant ice packed somewhere above it. Spruce needles bright on one side and gray on the other meant wind had worried the ridge all night. Ravens gathering below the grade meant spilled grain, a dead animal, or men careless with lunch wrappers. None of these readings made him wise. They only kept him alive in places where the town had already decided the weather could keep him. They called him the Mountain Man when he came down from North Bent, with bark in his hair and a blanket roll across his shoulders. The name was not admiration. Boys at the fuel yard used it when they wanted him to hear. The deputy used it when he wanted the grocer to stop letting Eamon sweep the loading step for bruised vegetables. Mountain Man, as if cold and hunger turned a person into scenery. The road camp where he had washed dishes and stacked cedar had shut without paying the last 2 weeks. The foreman said checks would follow. Eamon watched the trucks leave with the cook stove chained in the final bed and understood that checks did not climb mountains looking for boys without addresses. After 3 nights in a culvert and 2 behind the shuttered schoolhouse, he climbed again because the town's heat came with doors. Doors came with questions, and questions ended with being moved along. Late February had softened the snow in the low places and sharpened it in the shade. Above the old pack road, where the grade folded through hemlock and slate, Eamon found the windfall he had marked 3 days before. 3 spruce trunks jammed against a stone retaining wall, packed behind with needles, frozen soil, and dirty slide snow. On the other side, if the torn survey map he had taken from camp could be trusted, there should have been a south bench with the remains of a spring shed. Maybe there would be boards, maybe a roof, maybe a place where morning sun arrived before a body froze through. He did not climb over the trunks. Their upper branches were locked beneath glazed snow, the whole weight leaning outward and waiting for a fool. Instead, he crouched where fox tracks cut along the base and felt with his bare hand beneath the lowest trunk. Air moved there, not much, but enough to lift the hair on his wrist. The wall was not stone all the way through. It had roots in it, and old bark, and a softness that could be cut if a person had more patience than strength. He began carving. The draw knife had belonged to no one in his family. He had found it in a ditch near the closed stave mill, orange with rust, but still shaped for hands. He had sharpened it on creek stone until it shaved wet bark in curls, then wrapped one cracked handle with cord. In town, it was something men would notice and remember. On the mountain, it was only a tool. He pulled it toward himself in short strokes, shaving frozen root fiber and dirt-bound punkwood, stopping whenever the wall made a settling sound. He braced the crawl with curved spruce pieces and packed snow back around the outside, so the opening would not be visible from the trail. By noon, he had made a hollow long enough for his shoulders. His sleeves were soaked. Mud lined his nails. His breath returned to him with the sour smell of trapped earth. Once he thought he heard a voice and lay still until he decided it was water, moving under ice. Once the draw knife struck something flat. He cleared the place with his fingertips. Planed boards lay behind the packed wall, set vertical and close together, old but not rotten. Someone had built there. Someone had built inside the mountain or against it, in a place no map admitted. Eamon should have backed away. Boards meant property. Property meant men. He did not want to be found burrowing into a stranger's wall with a blade in his hand. Yet through a crack in the wood came a smell that stopped him harder than any warning. Apples. Not fresh apples. Stored apples. Wrinkled and sweet, mixed with flour dust, onions, soap, and the mineral chill of stone. His stomach clenched so sharply he had to sit back in the crawl. He had not eaten since the day before, when he had dug a heel of bread from the bakery ash bucket and cut away the burned part with his thumb. The smell made a room appear in his mind, with shelves and jars and sacks raised off the floor. A room where food waited because someone expected tomorrow. He worked the draw knife tip into the crack. A splinter lifted. Light came through, not daylight, but a low candle glow. From beyond the boards, a woman's voice said, "Len?" Eamon froze. The voice said the name again, sharper now, and from farther inside came a child's cough. Beneath it, Eamon heard another sound, faint but familiar from bad stove rooms and sealed sheds. Flame feeding without enough clean air, smoke pressing low where it should have climbed. He slid the blade under a loose board and pried. Nails squealed. Dust shook down. Somewhere beyond, glass broke with a bright little snap. "Who is there?" the woman shouted. The board gave way. Eamon was looking into a pantry. It was not large, but hunger made it deep as a church. Shelves stood from floor to ceiling, bowed with jars of dark peaches, cloth-covered crocks, sacks on slats, strings of beans, onions in a net, and 2 hams wrapped in muslin, where candlelight threw their shadows huge against the plaster. A woman stood by the inner door with a bread knife in one hand. She was thin in the hard way winter makes people thin even inside houses, her braid loose down one shoulder. Behind her, a boy of about 10 had a quilt wrapped around him. A smaller girl crouched near a sack of oats, holding a tin cup. Their faces were gray, where stove heat should have flushed them. Eamon saw himself as they saw him, mud to the elbows, bark in his hair, eyes sunk, shoulders wedged inside a hole in their pantry wall, a blade in his fist. He pushed the draw knife back out into the crawl. "I am not here to rob you," he said, which sounded exactly like what a robber would say. "Back out," the woman said. "I will, but there is smoke in your air." Her eyes flicked toward the ceiling, where brown haze gathered along the joists. "Back out now." The boy coughed until he doubled over. The little girl cried without sound. That silent crying decided Eamon more than the bread knife did. He backed into the crawl but kept his face near the hole. "Open something low if you can, not high. Low. Smoke is sitting." "You think I don't know my own house?" "No, I think something is blocked." Deeper in the house, a man groaned. The woman's face changed then, not softening but splitting under strain. "The front is buried. The kitchen door is pinned. Len is under a beam. If you came through that wall, then there is a way out." Eamon looked back along the passage he had carved. It was no way out for a family. It was a slit under a windfall, barely wide enough for his own ribs. "Not yet," he said. Outside, the afternoon looked too bright and empty. The town below had roofs, chimneys, men who would ask what he had taken before they asked who was trapped. Inside the mountain wall were children breathing bad air and a woman holding herself together with a knife. Between them was the crooked passage his hunger had made. He could leave and try to fetch help. By the time anyone believed him, if anyone did, the smoke might finish its work. He pulled the draw knife free and began cutting the crawl wider. The trick was not making a hole. Panic could make a hole. The trick was making the mountain accept the hole for a little while. Eamon cut root mat in strips instead of chunks, trimmed spruce braces so they curved into the pressure, and dragged loose stone to the passage floor to keep water from running through the center. Twice the woman came to the opening. The first time she only watched. The second time she slid him a broom handle and a coil of clothesline. "My name is Hannah Keever," she said, as if a name were a tool she had decided to pass him. "Eamon Rook. How old are you?" 18. "You are a boy." "I'm the only one on this side of the wall." That ended it. She told him what had happened while he worked. Before dawn, a thaw slip had come down the chute above the house. It took the shed, porch, and part of the kitchen roof. The front door opened onto packed timber and snow as hard as gravel. The side door was under a maple trunk. Len Keever had pushed the children clear when the beam came down, but it caught him across the hips. The chimney cracked above the roofline. Smoke still climbed, but badly, and every time the wind shifted, it came back into the house. The telephone line had gone with the porch. "Why did you not shout?" Eamon asked. "We did," she said. The mountain answered. No one else. The boy was Jory. The little girl was Caddy. There was a baby, too, Hannah's sister's child, sleeping in a drawer because the cradle had split. The baby's name was Aura, and whenever Hannah said it, her voice lowered, as if the name itself might wake the child into bad air. By mid-afternoon, the crawl could take Jory on his belly. Eamon tied the clothesline around the boy's waist and showed him where to put his elbows. Jory tried to be brave and was too angry to do it gracefully. "I can walk out," he said. "No, you can crawl out alive. Those are different things." Jory glared, then coughed until his eyes watered. He came through with the quilt dragging behind him, scraping one shoulder raw, but making no complaint once his face appeared under the windfall. Eamon pulled him into open air. Caddy came next. She froze halfway when the passage creaked, so Eamon told her to count the roots with her fingers, not because the number mattered, but because counting gave fear a job. She whispered each one until her hands found his. Hannah would not leave Len. Eamon had expected that. He had also expected her to order him to take the children down the mountain. Instead, she pushed 2 blankets, a tin of salve, and half a hard loaf through the hole. "Put them beyond the wind," she said. "Then come back if you mean to come back." He looked at the bread. Hunger rose so fast, he hated it. "You need this," he said. "We need hands more." He took one bite because refusing would have been theater, and because he could not work with his stomach folded against his spine. The bread was coarse and smoky. It was the best thing he had tasted that winter. Inside the pantry, the air had thickened. The candle flame leaned toward the hole he had cut, proof the rough crawl was pulling air, but also drawing smoke across the room. The boards he had broken were not ordinary sheathing. Once he cleared flour dust and mouse dirt from them, he found a frame with small pegged joints and shallow half-moon cuts along one shelf edge. They were too regular for damage. Hannah crouched beside him. Len's grandmother marked shelves by touch: beans, salt, pears, lard. These marks go into the frame. From the kitchen, Len called Hannah's name, weak and frightened. They hurried to him. The kitchen had lost its shape. One wall leaned inward under snow and broken rafters. The stove sat crooked, pipe bent where the ceiling had come down. A roof beam pinned another beam that trapped Len's legs beneath plaster, boards, and wet insulation. He was broad-shouldered, but pale with pain. When he saw Eamon, he tried to focus. "Who's that?" "He came through the pantry," Hannah said. "From the hill?" "Yes." Len shut his eyes. "Then the old run is there." Hannah's mouth tightened. "Do not start with old stories now." "Not stories. My grandmother said shelves opened if you knew the count. 3 knocks for sharing, 2 for smoke, 1 for slide. I never listened proper. The half-moons, shelf marks, a count by touch, not decoration, but instructions hidden in pantry habit." "What count?" Eamon asked. Len fought through pain. "Salt before sweet, preserves down, flour up, smoke mark low." Eamon returned to the pantry. Behind the salt crocks, the wood was cleaner where hands had once gone often. He lifted the shelf, pressed inward, then pulled forward. A hidden latch clicked. The entire back section of shelving shifted sideways with a grinding sigh. Behind it was darkness and a breath of air so cold and clean that the candle stood straight. The opening led not to a room, but to a stone passage running along the back of the house. It was low and shoulder-wide, lined with flat slabs set by patient hands. Along one wall ran a narrow wooden trough. Along the other were niches with old clay jars, some empty, some still wax-sealed. A cord held punched tin leaves shaped by touch. Apple, lamp, smoke curl, boot, cradle, spring. This was behind my pantry, Hannah whispered. It goes somewhere, Eamon said. First we make it breathe. He crawled into the passage with the candle. The first 10 yards sloped upward. At the bend, he found the blocked vent. A square of wood dropped from the ceiling, sealed by leaves, squirrel nest, and ice, where warm house breath had met winter. He cut the nest away with his belt knife and pried the board loose. Black dust and acorn shells rained on his face. Then the vent opened with a soft gulp. Air moved. From the pantry, Hannah called, "The smoke is lifting." The passage continued. A branch dropped toward water. Eamon followed it far enough to find a little stone gate choked with roots and silt. Meltwater pressed behind it, backing toward the house. Over the gate, a tin leaf bore raised letters, deep enough to read with fingertips. Clear before thaw. They could not do everything at once. They went back for Len. There was no clean rescue, only angles, weight, and pain. They had no jack. The house jack was under porch snow. They had a cider screw press, a chopping block, 2 stove lengths, and clothesline. Eamon set the press sideways between stove legs and fallen beam, spread the force with the block, and turned the screw a quarter at a time, while Hannah pulled broken lath from around Len's legs. The old screw screamed. Len bit a leather strap until blood showed at the corner of his mouth. They dragged him 6 inches, then 6 more, then stopped when a second brace shifted overhead. Eamon climbed onto the cold stove edge and drove his shoulder under the brace before it struck the pipe. For one breath, he held the weight. Lights burst in his vision. Hannah understood and fed the clothesline around the brace and through a shelf support. The line tightened. Eamon ducked free. Together they dragged Len into the pantry, where cleaner air reached him from the hidden passage. Outside, the windfall groaned. Jory shouted that the snow had moved. The rough crawl was already narrowing under melt. If the family stayed in the pantry, the damaged ceiling might close both ways. If they moved through the old run, it might reach the road, or it might end under a burned house. Either uncertainty was better than waiting under a failing roof. Eamon and Hannah returned to the water gate first. If that gate failed while they moved Len, the passage could become a drain. Eamon lay on his side, cutting roots by feel, while Hannah dragged loosened tangles with the poker. The first plug came free, and water slapped cold against his chest. They cleared in handfuls, stopping after each surge. At the bottom of the gate, he found a small wooden wheel with a pointer shaped like a bent finger. The marks around it read, "House, road, pantry, waste." "It is set to house," Hannah said. "It may have kept the pantry cold once. Now it is backing toward you. If you guess wrong, water will tell us." He turned the wheel toward waste. For 2 inches it refused. Then grit broke. The old pointer moved, and water struck a lower channel with a hollow roar that ran away beneath the floor. The trembling under the passage eased. "A lot still works," Hannah said. "Until nobody checks it," Eamon answered. Past the gate, the corridor widened. There were more shelves, bundles wrapped in wax cloth, spare wooden pins, blocks of salt, and a carved board hung by cords. At first, Eamon saw only grooves. Then the map appeared. The mountain in cross-section, the Keever house marked by a square, the spring above it, the road below, and other squares along the bench where houses must once have stood. Between them ran a hidden line marked with symbols: apple, boot, cradle, smoke, lamp. It connected pantries, Hannah said. The thought changed the dark around them. Not a mine, not a bunker, a pantry road, A secret way for families snowed behind the mountain to move food, warnings, babies, water, and breath without crossing avalanche ground. They found the runner board under a stiff canvas near the map. It was narrow, iron-striped on the bottom, with rope handles at both ends. It had been built to move more than sacks. A grown person could lie curled on it. "They moved sick people," Hannah said, "and now Len." Getting him onto the board nearly broke them. He tried not to shout and failed once, a raw sound that made Caddy turn into the shelves with the baby's blanket clutched to her face. Hannah's hands did not falter. They tied Len to the board with clothesline and pantry straps, leaving his chest free. Jory took the lantern. Caddy carried a cloth bundle of food almost as big as her body. Hannah strapped the baby under her coat. Eamon took the front rope. They entered the old run as the pantry ceiling began to tick. The passage was not kind, but it had been made by people who understood difficulty. At each bend, the outer wall held a shallow pocket to angle the board. At each step down, someone had set a little ramp stone. Where water crossed, a lip kept the runner strips dry. Old thoughts surrounded them, not sentimental, but practical. Eamon trusted practical things more than promises. Beyond the map, the corridor narrowed, and ash darkened the ceiling. They reached the line toward a north pantry, the burned house Len half remembered. There, the roof had sagged where an old header rotted. The gap was high enough for children, but too low for Len's board. Eamon lay on his back and shaved the rotten header slice by slice with the draw knife, while Hannah held loosened stones with the poker. Jory crawled ahead and brought back 2 flat slabs from a collapsed shelf. Caddy hummed to the baby, her voice trembling whenever the mountain shifted. The header broke loose. Hannah held. Eamon jammed the slabs into place like teeth. The repair was ugly, but when he pushed against it, it did not move. They dragged Len through. The north pantry was all that remained of the burned house. The rooms above had collapsed decades before into char and snow-packed brush, but the pantry itself stood half underground, stone-walled and cold. Its shelves were empty, except for broken crocks and a board carved with initials. Not a diary. Not a ledger. A crowd of hands leaving proof where shelves would protect it. Initials paired with marks of work: boot, jar, smoke, cradle, saw, needle. Hannah touched one set. M.K. Mara Keever, Len's grandmother. Len opened his eyes on the runner board. She was little when the north house burned. She used this, Hannah said. She tried to tell us. The north pantry's outer door should have led to the bench road. It was buried under snow and burned timber. Eamon pressed his ear to it and heard not open air, but a muffled engine below. Road machinery. Men had come, but not near enough to know where they were. He pounded the door with the poker. Nothing answered. Then he found a square stone in the corner with a brass ring. Beneath it was a vertical clay pipe, no wider than a stovepipe. A tin leaf beside it showed a lamp and 3 radiating lines. Inside the pipe hung a chain of wooden paddles meant to clatter against the wall. Eamon pulled the chain. 3, 1, 3, 1. Sharing. Slide. Need. He shouted until his throat tore. People in the hill. Keever house. Injured man, children, baby. Do not blast. His voice returned as a ghost. No answer came. Then from outside came one long horn note, the road crew's warning before charges. Hannah's hand tightened on the bread knife she had carried all this way. They do not believe. They do not hear enough. The pipe was not only for sound. The lamp bracket on the wall, the angled slit above it, the tin leaf with radiating lines. The old run had used pantries as signal stations. They had almost no lamp oil. They had lard, cloth, candle flame, and smoke. Hannah opened a crock and found hardened lard at the bottom. Eamon tore a strip from his shirt, wrapped it around a broken paddle, soaked it, and set it in the bracket. It smoked, then burned yellow. Hannah sacrificed a clean towel without ceremony. The flame grew. Smoke and light climbed the slit. Outside, men shouted. The road crew saw smoke rising from the burned foundation. A voice finally came up the pipe, warped and suspicious. "Who's down there?" Eamon almost laughed with relief and rage. "Keever family. Hidden passage behind their pantry. Do not blast." "Say that again." He did, slower. Hannah added names. Len forced his own voice into the pipe once, weak but unmistakably alive. The charge was held. The man below was Mercer Bond from County Roads. He disliked every part of the situation, but understood that dislike did not remove a fact. "Can you move downhill?" he called through the pipe. Eamon studied the carved map on the north pantry wall. A line ran from this pantry to the road symbol, crossing a comb mark and a cup mark before ending at a square beneath a leaning tree. "We can try," he shouted. "Do not if it drops you into water." "That is useful advice," Eamon muttered. The downhill branch began behind a shelf lifted by two hidden pegs. Its stonework changed to cedar cribbing, blackened but dry, and the air smelled of cold water. The comb mark was a grate across the floor where meltwater should have dropped through wooden teeth into a lower channel. The teeth were packed with leaves, bark, blackened shingle, and fresh sawdust. Water sheeted over the top and spread along the passage. Amon knelt. "We clear it." His hands went numb in the water. Jory helped with a crock shard, scraping grooves while trying to hide how badly he shook. The first tooth opened with a gulp, then the second. As the grate cleared, the passage drained around their boots. Fresh sawdust washed over Eamon's fingers. Someone above had been cutting near the drainage line before the slide. Modern carelessness had choked old care. There was no time for anger. The cup chamber beyond was a cistern room with water halfway up the wall. As the comb cleared, the level began to fall, revealing steps and a low, swollen door. Eamon shaved the lower edge with the draw knife, wedged the poker under it, and pulled with Hannah and Jory pushing behind him. The door released suddenly, and a gust of air came through carrying fern, mud, and diesel. It opened into a root cellar under the lower road. An overhead trap showed a square of daylight at its edges. Eamon climbed a rack and struck it with his shoulder. It rose half an inch, dropped, then answered with voices. Shovels scraped above. A pry bar bit under the trap. Daylight widened, gray and immense. Mercer Bond's face appeared upside down, mustached and red from cold. "Well," Mercer said. "There you are." No one cheered. The work was not finished enough for cheering. Caddy came out first, then Jory. Then the baby passed into the arms of a road worker whose face changed completely when the bundle made a sound. Hannah came next, only after Eamon promised he would not move Len without her. Getting Len out took ropes, the runner board, 4 men, and Mercer's profanity arranged as instruction. Eamon stayed below guiding the board through the trap because he knew where it caught. When Len reached daylight, he fainted. For a moment, Eamon stood alone in the root cellar. He could have stayed there until everyone forgot he was part of the count. Above, Mercer shouted, "Boy, you coming?" Eamon climbed. The road was a trench between dirty snowbanks, crowded with men, shovels, 2 county trucks, and neighbors drawn by the stopped blast. The Keever children sat wrapped in road coats. Hannah knelt by Len, while a radio crackled for a medic truck. No one asked Eamon what he had stolen. They were too busy staring at the open trap, the smoke from the burned pantry signal, and the filthy boy who had emerged from the mountain with blood on one hand and a draw knife at his belt. One fuel yard boy stood with a shovel. His mouth opened, as if the old nickname had risen automatically, then closed because Mountain Man had become inconveniently real. Mercer caught Eamon's sleeve. "You said the first pantry line is unstable?" "Yes." The water was backing behind it. "I set the gate to waste, but if the slide drops that cold room timber, it could block the run again. Then water looks for another way. Maybe under your road." A county office man in clean boots frowned. "This boy is not an engineer." "No," Eamon said. "I am the one who knows where your map is missing a pantry." Mercer turned to his crew. "No charges. We shore the cellar and find that house line." They worked until dark, not the bright work of rescue, but the hard, unpretty work that keeps a rescue from becoming only a delay. The crew found the old run by probing for hollow sound near the leaning tree. They set timbers over the root cellar, cleared weight from the burned pantry, and cut into the slide above the Kiever pantry with saws instead of powder. Eamon crawled back through twice, once to check the water gate, and once to bring out the carved map board before damp warped it. Hannah, before leaving in the medic truck, gripped his arm. "You come down to the clinic after," she said. "I am not hurt enough." "That is not what I said." He had no answer for kindness shaped like an order. She pressed something into his hand, the apple-shaped tin leaf from the pantry cord. "You opened it," she said. "You should know how to open it again." Night came cold and starless. The thaw stopped. Water skinned over where it had run all day. Eamon should have left with the crew. He had bread in his pocket, burned fingers, and a root cellar where he could sleep out of wind. Instead, he sat by the open trap, with the map board on his knees, tracing the carved line from pantry to pantry by lantern light. Mercer sat beside him after a while and handed him coffee gone lukewarm. "You got people?" "No." It was a clean answer. It did not invite the usual search for hidden relatives who might be blamed. "You read Slope good." "I read what I can. That run needs a winter watch. County will want to fill it once everyone gets less grateful." Eamon looked at him. "Not tonight," Mercer said. "Tonight everybody loves a hidden passage because it gave them living children. Later, someone says liability. Someone says unauthorized structure. Someone says old places are safer shut. They are not safer shut if water still uses them. Try telling that to a dry office." Near midnight, a knock came from below. 3, 1, 3. Mercer heard it too. "Pipe?" "No," Eamon said. It came again from under the Kiever pantry line. Not a hand, but a wooden signal shaken by pressure. The wastegate was failing. They took lanterns, pry bar, rope, and went back in with one roadman waiting at the cellar. Inside, the run had changed. Ice formed along the trough edges. The pointer Eamon had turned toward waste now trembled between waste and house. A fresh cedar stick had wedged in the lower slot, washed down from the slide cutting above. Water pushed toward the house again. Mercer leaned close. "Can you pull it without losing your arm?" "Maybe." "That is not an answer I enjoy." Eamon tied clothesline to the draw knife handle, lay on his belly, and lowered the blade flat into the slot like a hook. Current battered the handle against stone. He caught the cedar once, lost it, caught again. Mercer held his belt. Eamon pulled slowly. Hard would wedge the stick deeper. Slow let water help. The cedar came loose. The gate slammed to waste with a thud that shook the passage. Water roared away, then steadied. The knocking stopped. Eamon found 2 old locking holes beside the pointer. The peg was gone. He shaved a wooden pin from a shelf scrap, wrapped it with a torn strip of shirt, and tapped it through the pointer into the waste hole. "Official?" Mercer asked. "No." "Work?" "Until a better peg comes." Most official things mean that and take longer. They returned after 1 in the morning. This time, Eamon accepted the root cellar as a sleeping place. He curled on old burlap with the apple tin leaf in his fist and the draw knife under his coat. Sleep came not like peace, but like a fall. He survived. Morning brought clear light and the full shape of the slide. It had come down the chute above the Keever house, carrying cut brush, snow, and 2 boulders that split the porch like kindling. The hidden pantry wall opened into a slope no one living had thought to inspect. The north burned foundation still smoked faintly from the signal wick. The lower road root cellar stood open beside a leaning birch, exactly where the old map had said. People came with blankets, questions, tools, authority, gossip, and the hunger of those who had nearly lost neighbors and needed the story arranged into something less accusing. Mercer let no one enter without shoring. The clean-booted county man returned with maps and an expression prepared to forgive the mountain for embarrassing him if it behaved going forward. Hannah came back by noon against advice, while Len remained at the clinic with broken bones, but no broken spine. Jory stayed there too with a fever, furious at being treated like a child after crawling through half the mountain. When Hannah saw the root cellar in daylight, she stood silent for a long time. Eamon stood beside her, because no words seemed strong enough not to make it smaller. "My pantry fed this house," she said at last. "I thought that was all." "It fed a road." She looked at him, and the road fed it back. The old run gave up its truth through use, not confession. A shelf swung out to reveal spare hinges wrapped in wax cloth. A floor stone lifted to clear the trough bend. The cradle mark meant not only babies, but low lamp niches where smoke thinned. The boot mark sometimes meant root and sometimes stop. Test the floor. Len's grandmother's sayings changed shape once placed against wood and stone. Salt before sweet opened the shelf door. Cold keeps its own account led to a bent metal strip that warned when the pantry vent froze. "Do not stack jars where a child can knock for help," explained the wooden speaking box behind the lower shelf. A historian named Wren Loxley arrived 2 days later, wearing boots muddy enough to earn Hannah's approval. She read the shelf initials with a flashlight and traced them onto paper. No diary explained the between run. The proof lay in measurements and repairs. Mara Keever, Elspeth Nork, Sella Greaves, Thomas Earl. Names carved beside marks for jar, boot, smoke, cradle, saw, needle. County notes from the winter of 1912 mentioned 3 upper bench families cut off for 19 days, extra salt delivered to one household, flour unaccounted for, and a complaint about private pantry undercutting, dismissed as women's foolishness. It was a mutual winter passage, Wren said. Food, air, water, warnings, and people. Hidden because the official road failed them. Hidden because men in offices did not understand pantries, Hannah said. Wren smiled slightly. That too. Neglect had concealed what permission might have destroyed. But neglect had also almost killed the Keevers. Eamon listened to the names and understood that hidden things do not remain pure because they are hidden. They either get kept or forgotten. Forgotten is another kind of burial. For the next week, he worked in the run without waiting to be asked. He checked the water gate at first light, scraped ice from the comb grate, sealed his rough windfall crawl with stones so animals and curious boys could not use it, cleaned the signal pipe, and carved a proper locking peg from ash. Mercer arranged a temporary road voucher because specialized local access knowledge sounded official enough to pay if no one looked straight at it. Eamon received his first legitimate envelope in months and slept with it under his shirt for 2 nights before cashing it. He did not move into the Keever house. That would have made gratitude too heavy. He slept in the root cellar first, then in a little road shed with a cot and a stove no larger than a bucket. It was not charity, Mercer said. The run needed a watcher. Eamon accepted because work stood between him and owing. Hannah made him sit for supper the first night the stove drew cleanly again. He stood too long in the doorway, uncertain where to put his hands. The patched table smelled of beans, damp wool, lamp oil, and sawdust. Caddy placed the apple tin leaf beside his bowl, like a table setting. "That is not a spoon," he said. "It is yours. It opens a pantry. Then do not lose it." Hannah ladled beans into his bowl. "Eat before it cools." He ate. No one asked why his hands shook. No one said he could stay. No one said he had to leave. For once, a room did not close around him like a trap. It worked around him. Spoons moving, children arguing softly, rain tapping patched boards, the pantry behind them breathing through its cleared vent. After supper, Jory asked, "Did you really live outside all winter?" "Not all, some under things." "Why?" Eamon considered the answers adults liked. Closed camp, no pay, no family, bad luck. All true, none complete. Outside did not ask for papers. Caddy touched the apple leaf. "Now you have a pantry key. That is not papers." "No," Hannah said. "It is older." Spring negotiated rather than arrived. Thaw loosened the slopes by noon. Frost tightened them again by dusk. The between run became part of the daily weather. Eamon walked it each morning. Road outlet, comb teeth, water gate, branch vent, signal pipe. Caddy learned the tap codes before anyone thought to teach her. Jory learned to move through the north pantry without touching the cracked third shelf. Len came home on crutches in April, thin and mean from pain, and apologized to the hidden passage while pretending to inspect hinges. "I should have listened," he said. Hannah put jars back in order. "You can start now." He did. He remembered more sayings, more shelf counts, more names half buried in family talk. In return, Eamon taught him where the second waistline might be, because the carved map showed a bent branch symbol beyond the spring mark, and no one had opened that chamber yet. They found it during a warm rain in late April, when water began to speak too loudly behind the pantry wall. Eamon, Mercer, Hannah, and Wren crawled past the first vent into a narrow chamber built around a natural crack in the rock. Water seeped down into a wooden box, then should have passed into a clay drain. The drain mouth was plugged with pale gravel and root hair. Above a black and white paddle were words carved deep. "Turn branch to open hill." The paddle would not move. Eamon shaved mineral scale from the hinge with the draw knife tip, while Mercer braced the wooden box and Wren held a lantern. Hannah crouched behind him, one hand on the wall, as if she could feel the whole house through it. The hinge gave it last. The paddle turned from black to white. Somewhere below, a stone valve boomed open. Eamon cut the roots from the drain mouth. The plug burst, water punched through, and Mercer hauled him sideways before the surge could slam his head into stone. The second waste saved the pantry line that spring. It also settled the argument no county man had quite dared to make aloud. The run was not a relic. It was still doing work. The gates came in May. The county wanted locks. Eamon objected before he could stop himself. A locked rescue passage is a decorated wall. The clean-booted man disliked that. Wren wrote it down. Hannah said no gate would be installed in her pantry unless Caddy could open it blindfolded. Mercer found a welder willing to build covered touch latches instead of key locks. The new frames were steel, but the plates were shaped after the old symbols. Salt, Apple, Boot opened the Keever pantry. Boot and Lamp opened the root cellar. Spring and Waste opened the water chamber. Each could be worked from inside by a hand low to the floor, where smoke thinned and children could reach. On the day they tested them, Caddy opened the pantry blindfolded. Jory did it one-handed, while pretending boredom. Len did it from a stool, because his legs still would not forgive the mountain. Hannah did it without looking, because she had always known the count, even before she knew what it was. Then everyone looked at Eamon. He tied the cloth over his own eyes. Darkness took the pantry. He stood with one hand on the shelf edge, smelling apples, flour, soap, clean stove smoke, and the cold mineral breath of the passage beyond. For a moment he was back under the windfall, hungry enough to hate a smell, afraid enough to leave, stubborn enough to cut one more shaving. He touched salt, apple, boot. The latch released. The hidden door opened. No one clapped. It would have been the wrong sound. The right sound was the passage breathing, soft and steady, as if the mountain had accepted the bargain for now. By summer, ferns covered the outlet hollow, and the Kiever porch stood new against the old house. The pantry shelves were rebuilt with one section left pale and different, so no one could pretend the break had not happened. Eamon still slept sometimes in the road shed, sometimes in the root cellar when rain was heavy. It felt less like hiding now, and more like listening from the correct place. In August, a woman with 2 children arrived on foot at dusk during a thunderstorm. Her car had been trapped behind a washout, and someone lower in the valley had told her there was an upper passage if she could reach the road shed. She stood soaked and humiliated, carrying a toddler with one shoe and a paper bag of medicine going soft in the rain. Eamon found them at the root cellar gate. "I did not know where else to go," she said. "I am sorry." "You came right," he answered. The certainty in his own voice surprised him. He opened the gate by touch. Boot, lamp. The children stared at the dark below, afraid because help did not look like a front door. Eamon lit the low lantern and showed them the first marks on the wall. Apple means food. Boot means way. Smoke means keep low. Spring means water. Share means you are not stealing by needing. The woman looked at him then, and he knew the expression because he had worn it. Suspicion fighting exhaustion, pride deciding whether it wanted to live. He stepped aside, leaving the entrance clear. Hannah arrived with blankets. Caddy carried apples. Jory carried a rope he did not need, but liked having. Len came last with his cane and checked the gate as if storms were personal. Thunder moved over the mountain. Rain hammered the road and ran clean through channels that had been cleared before they were begged to work. In the pantry, the stove drew well. In the between run, water used the waistline, air used the vents, and voices carried through speaking boxes from one entrance to another. The hidden passage did not make the storm gentle. It made the storm negotiable. Late that night, after the woman and children slept in the front room and the Kievers had gone quiet, Eamon stood alone in the pantry. New jars stood beside old ones. The tin leaves hung in working order. Apple, boot, cradle, lamp, smoke, spring, waste, share. The repaired wall still bore the mark of his first damage and the cleaner lines of later work. He ran his thumb along the board he had broken through months before. It had been sanded, but not disguised. He thought of the first rule the mountain had taught him: read what it refuses to give. That rule had kept him alive, but it had also trained him to expect refusal everywhere. The pantry had given before it knew him. The passage had opened because old hands believed need would come again, wearing a face they could not imagine. The family had not made him prove he deserved air before asking him to help move it. From the inner room, Caddy's sleepy voice called, "Eamon!" "Yes?" "Are you checking the latch?" He looked at the hidden door, at the line where pantry became passage, and passage became mountain, and mountain became road. "Yes." "Is it shut?" He pressed the shelf until the latch caught, then opened it again to be sure it would give. Closed was not enough. Open mattered too. "It works," he said. "Good." He stood there a moment longer, listening to rain move through the old channels and away. Then he lowered the lantern and stepped into the between run, not because he had nowhere else to sleep, not because the town had pushed him into the dark, but because water was high, and the comb should be checked before morning. Behind him, the pantry waited, with its shelves full and its door known by touch. Ahead of him, the passage breathed in stone, carrying the work of the dead into the hands of the living. Eamon went carefully, not because fear owned him, because the mountain was still speaking, and this time he knew he was allowed to answer.